My lords, ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the start of a new scenario playthrough on Railway Empire. This few episodes is going to see us tackling the scenario Black Gold, and this was requested by a viewer in the comments of a previous video, and the viewer, Featherwings78 if memory serves, did request we have a go at this scenario and we do it with the character Don Lorenzo. So that's what we're going to be doing today. As we can see, this scenario is rated as medium in terms of difficulty, so hopefully we won't have too many issues. So let's jump into the scenario setup screen. We do have competitors on this scenario, so the first thing I'm going to do is increase the AI level to very hard. I'm also, because we have this multiplier here applied, I can now set the pause mode to manual for this scenario, so we can pause it ourselves and take a bit of time just to plan out our next steps, as well as going through the task list right at the start of the scenario. As discussed, we will be using Don Lorenzo for this, and we'll have a quick look at his character here. So we do get 5 auctioneers at the start of the game. We get an increase of 15% in freight income. We don't get applications from office employees, which can be a shame, and we do have a 15% reduction in income from passengers and mail. So let's jump straight in, and as soon as we load in, we will pause the game and we'll have a look at our task list. So here we go, we can see our task list here for the most part. Obviously once this speech bubble buggers off, we'll be able to see what's hidden beneath. But to get started, we want to reach a population of 60,000 in Kansas City. We need to connect six cities to our rail network. We need a network total length of 4,156 miles. That here should be rather easy. We can see we start halfway through, or just over halfway through, in 1890. So we want to make a quick push for these two, but after that, as we can see, we're pretty good. This one also, 1895, we start in 1890, so this is one we'll have to focus on fairly early, but the rest of them we should have plenty of time to be able to achieve these. And let's just have a look at the rest of them for completion's sake. So by 1900, the start thereof, of course, we need to transport 50 load of oil into towns, and that is important. It's not just ship them anywhere, so you can't ship them from an oil rig to a warehouse. That doesn't count. It does have to reach a town to qualify, so we must bear that in mind. We need to produce 5 loads of oil per week. Therefore, we're going to have to buy ourselves some oil derricks, and more than likely we're going to have to upgrade them as well. We need a quarterly revenue of 2.5 million from freight. Now, using Don Lorenzo, that's an advantage here because we do get an extra 15% income from our freight, so that should help us achieve this one. We then need to produce 20 loads of oil per week, so we're going to have to buy up a few more oil derricks and get them upgraded and make sure we're utilising them as best we can. 1909, transport 1,000 loads of oil to towns. Again, that town's bit there is very, very important. You can't cheese it by dumping it all in a warehouse. This one we have discussed. 1905, we want to produce 50 loads of petroleum. So of course we're going to have to buy a petroleum refinery at some point, or build one in one of the cities as soon as we're able to do that. So that's our tasks. We start out with $800,000, which is not the most, so we might have to be a bit frugal at the start. And here's Kansas City, it's our home city. This is what we need to grow to 60,000 by the start of 1892, I believe it was. And we're over halfway there at the start of the game, 34,000 residents already. So we want to keep making sure we get this nicely supplied. We'll focus, well, let's have a look at what we can focus on. Well, we've got corn right here, so that's an obvious choice. We have grain here as well, so that's 1 and 2 of the goods. Beer we obviously self-produce, so that's all taken care of. We have sugar here as well, so sugar we can fulfill. And then we want logs and or meat, or both if possible. We do have a meat industry, or we have a meat producing city down here in Wichita, and given that we produce beer, this will see nice mutual beneficial growth for both cities. We can get some cattle into Wichita to make sure we're producing as much meat as possible to ship into Kansas City, and we do have logs not too far away, so we can bring these logs into Kansas City as well. As this starts to grow, we're going to see demand for things such as cloth, milk, veg and fruit. Milk we can supply. We have milk not too far from the lumber yard, the lumber camp right here, so we can get milk brought in. Fruit and vegetables, looks like that's a little bit further afield. Let's see, where can we send? We have vegetables here. It's not too far away, but obviously these distances are increasing every time we move further and further away. But I do think we'll be able to keep Kansas City growing to 60,000 without getting these vegetables brought into play, or the fruit or the cloth. Now, an important thing to note in Kansas City is we have a special building, Standard Oil, and this produces a constant demand for oil in Kansas City. That's obviously going to be very important when it comes to this objective and to this objective. So this city will always demand an infinite amount of oil, so we can just chuck as much oil as we like at Kansas City and it will never get fed up of it. So that's something to bear in mind. I do think there are a few other towns in the on the map that have special buildings. I think it might be down here in Texas, or maybe I was wrong. I thought there was one or two more, but perhaps not. Maybe it is just Kansas City where that special building exists. Yeah, it seems to be. But that's fine. We have a station in here. It's our home city, so that's where it works out quite nicely. Other than that, there's not much else to discuss before we get started in this scenario. The terrain isn't too bad. We do have a few rivers crisscrossing the map, but nothing too extravagant. However, it should be noted as we start to head south and to the west, we do start seeing these ridges and these mesas appearing on the landscape. So when we start heading down this way with our network, we're going to see some bridges come into play in and around this region. And if memory serves, I haven't played this scenario for a couple of years now, I'll be honest, I haven't done a practice run at this. But yes, if memory serves, a lot of the oil wells are generated in the Texas area, as much as you would expect. I think we only start with one here, which is Chaplin Drill Hole, but more do spawn in over time as you make progress through the scenario, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. Other than that then, I think we are ready to kick off proceedings, so I'm going to start with the usual tactic of just demolishing the station here in Kansas City and beginning with just a small station for, in fact, no, I'll go for a large one straight away, and I'm just going to position it right on the edge of town, right about there should do. And our first couple of destinations, we're going to get some wheat being brought in, we're going to get some of this corn and this sugar. So that's 3 of the goods. We'll also set up a mixed consist line between Kansas City and Wichita. So we will have some passenger movement between the two, but we'll also be able to get the meat and the beer switch between the two as well. And then we'll head down, we'll get cattle brought into Wichita, and we'll get these logs brought into Kansas City, and what the heck, we may as well drop them into Wichita as well. And if needed, we'll also go for the milk down here. We only need to grow it to 60,000. If we go back to our task list, there is no other specific task that, you know, outright states we have to reach a certain population size in a certain city or a number of cities. However, if we can grow several cities, it's going to help us achieve this task a little bit easier as well. So it's well worth getting some of these cities growing in and around this area. Of course, we can also do a meet to be a line here between Salina and Wichita, nice short distance, but that will be secondary. The primary focus is getting to Wichita, just so we can get that meat supplied into Kansas City. Anyway, that's enough waffle. Let's get started, and we'll get a small station at Collins Estate here, and this will bring in our grain into Kansas City, which Kansas City needs to keep that growth as high as possible and get that demand fulfillment as high as possible as well. And yep, we're coming to an industry, so we'll do these short signals here so the trains don't have to wait quite so far away. And supply tower, we'll just put one right in the middle, so sort of like that position there should do. And then we'll set up a freight only line between Collins Estate and Kansas City. We shall run a minimum of 8 cars, so that's full loads at all times. Locomotives, we have the New York City American, so we'll have to use that, we have no alternative. And we will put the refrigerator car on these locos just to get an extra 10% income from the freight fees. So combined, that's 25% extra income we're getting because of the 15% bonus that Don Lorenzo inherently has. And we'll have 4 trains on this route to start with. The next place we're going to head down to is here into Wichita, and we're going to give ourselves a station over here, and it's going to be a 2-platform station because we want one line that heads up to Kansas City, and of course we want the second platform to accept the incoming cattle to help keep that meat industry well stocked. So let's double track this whole run here, and I'm just going to start the junction a little bit further away from the station so we can get those tracks in without any issue later on. And we'll come all the way down, and we'll merge in like that. We'll put our signals down like so, and we'll start with one supply tower roughly about halfway, so somewhere like that. And if we need to add an extra one, or maybe move that and put one here and one here instead, then so be it. As I said, this will be an automatic line, so it will handle both passengers and freight. And we'll have, I'd say 4, but we're going to need to go into the bond market to achieve this. So let's issue our first 2 bonds. That's going to free up about 500,000, which is not a great deal. Yep, automatic. We don't need to worry about what carriages and wagons they're using. We don't need to put anything special on those ones. But there we go, that's that. What we'll do now is, if we'll be able to afford, in fact, we want to get this brought in because that's going to eat up roughly half of our remaining funds. Or are we better off doing something like this, where we can ensure we have a steady supply of cattle into Wichita, and then by extension a steady supply of meat up into Kansas City? I think I'm going to go, I'll do this simply because we can get some overland shipments coming in here because they're not too far away. So I do think this is probably the most critical step that we take. Can we get away with a small train station? No, we cannot, so it's got to be large. This way it saves money. We're not having to, although I suppose building 2 will only cost us 80,000. Yeah, that's a fair point. We'll go with 2 small stations. That'll save us a bit of money. So we're going to have to bridge over here into Wichita. Let's just see if we can reduce the bridge size a little. Yes, we are going to increase the gradient on the track, but it's going to save money on the bridge, and I think that's more important at this juncture. And then we'll double track. Do we want to double track the bridge actually, or are we better off single tracking over the bridge and then increasing the double track length a little bit later on, just to save some money? Well, how much would it cost to double track the bridge? 11,000. Yeah, we may as well. We don't want to start there though. And then we'll come up to this small station, drop it in, get our signals on this line, and we can do that age-old trick there of short stopping on approach to the station. Supply tower just after the bridge, and we want a freight-only line from Young Breeding into Wichita. That is fully loaded. New York City American, refrigerator car, and I'm going to say we'll have 3 for now. And then we'll get these logs brought over as well. Now here's where we have a decision to make with the logs. We can either just tap into this and then branch out immediately and save money on bridge construction, or we can go a bit straighter, a bit more direct over the river. And how much is a bridge? 16,000. Well, let's see. Could we afford to do it this way first of all? Because it's coming a fair distance. Thankfully, the terrain up here is nice and flat. 164. So even if we would save money on the bridge, we're not going to be able to afford to do the full connection. So I think we may as well just do it this way around for what it's worth. Just get that curve looking a little bit nicer like that. Okay, so we'll have to start the game now, and as soon as we can afford to put this in and double track it, we will do. But we should be off to a pretty decent start here. As I said, because of the proximity of these two industries here to Kansas City, we should see a decent enough overland trickle incoming, which should hopefully keep it reasonably well stocked and encourage this city growth which we currently experience. So there we go, that's the first leg of that track we were just planning now put into place. We can now double track it, and again I will come in nice and early just so we have plenty of room here for this node without making it go all messed up. And that's 145,000 for this line, which is not too bad. A spy, how much are you going to set me back? 18,000. Yeah, I think I'll probably go ahead and avail myself of your services. And you can just go to Beatrix. Extra technologies, especially early on, are always beneficial. Perhaps less so in this scenario because we don't have to worry about getting a fast express train set up or anything. Okay, so we've got condensation tender, and that will be over here. No, it won't. Where is it? Is it one of the historical? It must be one of these. Where is it? There it is. Oh, that's not too bad, reducing consumption by 20%. As we were discussing that, we've now got the money to double track this line to the logging camp, so we shall go ahead and do just that. We'll put down our signals and the usual short signals just here. We have one supply tower already, so I'm going to stick with just the one for the time being, and if we need to add a second one down here at some point we can do. Although of course we do have to bear in mind we've just stolen the technology that reduces consumption by 20%. So that should have been set to freight only, so I'll have to redo that, but there we go. So we can't, oh now we can afford the train, there we go. And we want a couple of trains running down here. I think maybe 3 overall. Who do we have here? A conductor, just auto hire and auto allocate. And we also have a professor who will give me 58,100 in exchange for 110 innovation points. I dare say innovation points are more beneficial than that 58,000 at this point in time, so I won't hire him. We will duplicate the train out of Wright Forest Isles, however. So that's 3 trains now running that line. Kansas City is still growing. We do have a second industry slot at this point. But I'm not going to worry too much about what they put down there, providing it isn't something ridiculous. Let's see how we're doing. So that'll start increasing. We could focus on getting some corn and some sugar brought in, but as we can see, we do have overland supply already. Ventilated freight cars, yep, to increase freight income is always nice, so we'll go ahead and put a bid in on that one. Selling locomotives reduced by 1 increase, yeah, that's fine. So we got the tech there, which is very nice. That means we can increase our loco reliability, which is always a plus, so we'll go ahead and we'll do that. Yes, as I was saying, I think because we're getting some decent supply overland from these two farms right here, I think the next thing we're going to connect to is this milk right down here. And for this, we are just going to tap into this line up here. Obviously, we're going to do this prior to the bridge, like that. And that's going to save us a good chunk of money there. There we go. Let's put the signals in here. And then let's just head up to the junction and just make sure we don't have anything that's going to cause us problems. I don't believe we do. I will put one on that way just prior to the junction entry, however. Other than that, that should be all fine and good to go. So let's set up another freight line then from Smith Breeding into Kansas City. We want it running with a full load. The New York City American. I think we get the increase on milk with the refrigerator car. You'd think so. You want to keep your milk refrigerated after all. And again, we'll run 3 trains on that line. Let's just slow it down. Security guard, auto assign. How are we doing in Kansas City? 79% demand fulfillment. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is a line between Wichita and Salina. And then, of course, we want to get some of this grain brought into Salina as well. So we'll expand this station here, which is going to cost us a fair amount. We can't put anything in this side because we're blocked in. Well, I suppose we could just connect in and come back out again, actually. That way we'll only need 40,000 to put the station in here. What can we unlock now? Let's just pause it and have a look. Increased locomotive power. That's always nice. Although I might save up for this one for an extra 8% increase in transportation fee per freight car that rolls into a city. So I think we'll do that. Anything to get that money increased as much as possible. Anyway, as I was saying, yeah, let's connect Wichita into Salina. And we'll do this by having a station here. And we'll have a station here in Salina. We will then come out of Salina, head down this way like this. We want to connect into this line, and this is going to be a temporary share of this line here, because we're then going to immediately branch off and head down into our second station in Wichita. Hopefully it won't take too long for the money to roll in so we can pay for this, and there we have it. So sort of like this is what we're aiming for here. So 29,000 to double track this little stretch. And then of course we want to come off here down into here as well. And Wichita has grown a little, which is very nice indeed. There we go. And then we're coming immediately out of here into the station. 13,000, lovely. And we'll double track it and bring it in like that. Lovely. And we want signals there and there like that. Everything else should be okay. We can probably put another signal in that little bit there. And then we can set up a mixed line between Salina and Wichita. 32,000. I'm only going to have 2 trains on this line, one from each direction. It's a pretty short journey. So let's just get that train up. There it is. And we'll just clone it. And over time they will space themselves out. Okay, so that's the 2 trains running there. How's Kansas City? Yet we're still growing and we're nearly at 60,000 now. And I think we're going to hit 6,000 even if we suddenly turn off all the supply taps. So that's great. The next thing we'll do then is, because we don't need to worry about these 2 at all, we'll use this outermost platform and we're going to head down into Fayetteville. So let's get ourselves a small station here in Fayetteville. We'll pop it just there and we'll run the line up. We're not going to be able to afford to construct this at this point in time, but we can at least get it laid in and ready. 105,000, not too bad. I'm sweeping around those industries or those farms there rather than going through the middle, because at some point we might want to get them connected in. Or we better coming up this way and leaving this whole side open. Yes, more than likely, I think. So let's connect into there. Get rid of that track marker and that track marker. Have this one go a little bit straighter, like. Let's just avoid that cutting there, like that, and pull that one forward to there. Remove that one. And that should do. That way we keep all this space open. We've not blocked ourselves in. And it's also reduced the cost to 98,000, which is always a bonus as well. At some point we are going to want to think about maintenance sheds in our stations, but I think for the time being we're going to be just fine, even if we are suffering the random breakdowns and the breakdowns due to poor condition. For now, let's focus on getting this double tracked, and then we can set up a line between Kansas City and Fayetteville. After Fayetteville, we're going to head down into Shreveport. After Shreveport, we will come. Houston's going to be tricky because of how this track is laid out. So maybe after Shreveport, we'll hop over to Dallas, and then from Dallas, we can start making inroads into Texas. Because, of course, we do have this task here, which we want to get focused on, as well as this task here. And as we can see, we do have 4. We connected to Shreveport, didn't we? So not Shreveport, Fayetteville. Even though we don't have anything running down here, it is connected. So yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's fine. I didn't realise we've done that many already. I lost complete track of where we were. So yeah, as I was saying, we want to focus on getting those 6 cities connected, because that's going to obviously help us reach that 350,000 population goal. And we also want to make sure we're getting some of these cities growing in the background as well. Not only is it going to help reach that 350,000 population goal, it's also going to help with our income. Let's get a couple of trains running down here. Don't need anything too much down here, just a couple of trains, maybe 1 from each city will do. Let's just quickly pause it. We have an analyst, but it's probably too early in the game to consider analysts at this point in time. We're not really in a position financially to be messing about with these stock markets at this point. We can't take out an extra bond yet. There is no requirement to buy out any of our competitors, but it is something we'll likely end up doing anyway, just to get rid of them more than anything else. I'm just going to have a quick look here through all of the cities and see which are the most populous cities, because they're the ones we want to focus on to get us eating towards that 350,000 goal. At the minute, we're at 121,000, so just under half. No, we're not just under halfway at all. We're about 25% of the way there-ish, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, let's look through the cities then. So Kansas City we're already connected to, obviously, with 62,000. Salina has 16, Wichita 25, Fayetteville 16. Can I not view all cities? I thought you could scroll through all the cities, not just the ones you've got a connection to. Well, that's strange. I always thought you could view all the cities. Clearly not. We'll have to do this manually. So Shreveport 15, Dallas 17, Houston 35, Corpus Christi 35, San Antonio 40. So heading down into Texas is a worthwhile expansion because we have quite a few populated cities down here. These look very small, 14,000, 15 and 10. I think a lot of these are sub 20, so while we will connect to them, they're not really going to boost our population numbers that high. Over here, however, Denver at 35, Raton at 17, Santa Fe at 30, and Albuquerque, oh, that's a nice one, 48,000 and growing. And the added benefit of connecting to these cities is, of course, our competitors are supplying these cities in the background, so hopefully they'll see some growth, even if it's not as focused as the growth we're seeing in Kansas City. Okay then, so with that in mind, we've connected to 4. Do we want to come down into Shreveport and then into Dallas and then this way first of all, or do we want to beeline across the top into Denver, Raton, Santa Fe and Albuquerque? I think we'll head down into Texas, even though we're going to have to cross multiple rivers here to get ourselves into Shreveport. But that shouldn't be too much of a problem. So what we're going to do then is to expand this station it will cost 60,000. To build a second small station it's only 40. So we'll save our money and just build the second small station in Fayetteville. We'll then go into Shreveport, have two small stations, obviously one to Fayetteville, the other one is going into Dallas, and then one from Dallas will come down into Houston, over into San Antonio. Getting into Corpus Christi is going to be awkward because of this track here. We could come around the bottom, but that would be a bit silly. And once we've got into San Antonio, I think we'll then turn our attention on going over to the north, into Colorado, New Mexico, and into that area of the map. A promoter could be quite useful. And we may as well put them to work in Kansas City. We are supplying it. And that's going to help boost the population, which of course is going to help get us closer to this goal, even if it's not going to make the biggest difference in the world. Anyway, we have our little boost of money there, so let's go down into Shreveport now from Fayetteville. And what we're going to do is just run a line. The terrain here is a little bit, well, it's quite a lot rubbish actually. So we're going to have to box clever with how we run our line through this terrain to avoid bridges and tunnels, which we almost had there, which we don't want. Cuttings are going to be absolutely unavoidable, so there's not too much we can do about that. We've got a bridge there, you see. Don't really want that bridge. What if we bring that down? Yeah, that's better. It's not generated a tunnel at this point, which is fine. Let's do that then. So it's going to be steep gradient, but I'm not really bothered how steep it is or not. What I'd like to do is just save the money on the bridges. Maybe we would have been better going to the north. So we've got one bridge so far, which is obviously over the river, which is, you know, completely unavoidable. We don't have submarine trains on this game, so there's nothing we can do about that. But I think we've avoided unnecessary bridges through this terrain here. With the looks of it, I don't see... Is that a bridge there? No, it is not. So yeah, that's not too bad. It's expensive, but unfortunately there's not much we can do about that. 246,000. Still waiting to get 300 for this, which we should get next month. Can we do anything with the bonds yet? No, we cannot. We haven't grown our company value to a sufficient value where we can take out a nice big bond and get rid of those two small ones, unfortunately. We're not interested in that. Where's this connection bonus for? San Antonio. I think hopefully we can get down to San Antonio in that time. We now have the points required for the cattle car, so that's going to give us a boost to our income thanks to the extra 8% on freight. So let's connect that in like that. That's now 5 cities connected. At this point, I'm not going to bother running lines or running trains on all of these lines. My main focus is just getting the cities actually on the network and getting the people connected to the network for those 2 tasks. However, I'll probably run one between Shreveport and Dallas. So let's get the track ready. So we're going to need, what, let's call it 200,000 because of the cost of building the train station as well. Let's just auto hire you. A reporter. We don't need to sabotage our reporters in this scenario, so we can just disregard them and save some money. We don't have a supply tower on that little run, so we're going to have to invest in that, but it's fine. If that's what we need to do, that's what we need to do. Kansas City is nearly at 100,000, so doing very well on that one there. Up to 178 that was. Still waiting for 200,000 for the expansion. Still can't do anything with the bond market at this point in time, but I think we're going to be okay. So let's get our small station in Dallas. Just there. finish off this connection point between Dallas and this line here, 3,000.
You have connected the first cities.
So that's our 6th city now on the network, which is another objective ticked off, and I'm fairly confident we got a gold on that one, but we'll check it in a moment. Yes, indeed. So yeah, if we get a focus on this one for the next couple of expansion ventures, yeah, our next expansion venture is going to be focused on that one. We should get a gold on that one as well. 124 is the magic number for this double track, and as I said, we will run some trains on this line. That way it's not just sat idle, and it will actually give us a bit of background income, even if it's not critical to our company's overall success or our success in this scenario. So let's put our signals in. We'll again just stick to one supply tower, and if we need more then so be it, but we'll just go with one just to cut on costs a little bit. So we'll pop it about there, and then we'll set up an automatic line between these two, and we'll just have the 2 trains running. We will get that if we win the auction, or we'll try and win that auction. Let's I think we've been outbid, yes. Excuse my phone bonging away there in the background. Yeah, set up a rail line now between there and there with the New York City American. Are we still leading in the auction? Yes, we are. I'll not build anything else at this point. I want to make sure we have enough in reserve to put another bid in if required. Now it wasn't required, so that's great. So we've gone as far as Dallas. So next we're coming down into San Antonio. So let's get another small station in Dallas. Putting all these 2 stations down does have the added benefit of freezing out our competitors from this city. Oh, that didn't have enough to build that one there, but that should get it in just a couple of seconds time. In fact, there we go. So, whoops. Into San Antonio. And after San Antonio, where did we say we'd like to go? Ah, so we can't even build past. Is this, I believe this is the Rio Grande. Yeah, I think it is. So yeah, anyway, we can't build past this river at this moment. This is all blocked out, but it will open up eventually. We can build up here, thankfully. So after we've gone, yeah, as I was saying, after we've come into San Antonio, because it's going to be very expensive to get a line into Corpus Christi, I might turn my attention to the north. Although we could also just run a line into Austin. It's only an extra 13,000. We'll see what population we're at after we've connected San Antonio, and then decide if it's worth going into Austin or going up to the north. Anyway, we'll save money by not going over that river there and just make our line a little bit longer. 167,000. How are we doing on that task now? So another 150 required, so it might be worth going into Corpus Christi, because that's almost 50,000 right there. And then we know we can pick up 100,000 residents in these cities. So paying the money for a bridge over into Corpus Christi may be worthwhile, just to make sure we get that task done ASAP and get that gold check mark. So what do we want to unlock next? Let's just have a look at company over here. What do we have? Wait time for passengers. Not really fussed about that. But we do have some nice looking ones for us down here where we can increase our income on freight. Yeah, let's get... Ooh, or do we want to go for the PRRD-12 instead? Which is far more suitable for freight, as we can see. Yeah, let's go for the PRRD-12. Let's build that line. I think we will go ahead and run tracks down here between Dallas and San Antonio. May as well make some money off it, and it's not too bad in terms of its price. 151. Can we do any extra bonds? Yes, we can. Perfect. So let's do that, and that's going to fund our expansion quite nicely. So we've paid for the double track using our bonds. We can get our signals down free of charge, of course, so don't need to worry about that. Supply tower, again, we'll just go for one, and we'll set up an automatic line between these two, although they are both meat producing industries, so the main focus here will be on passengers. That's very expensive, so we'll stick to the NYC American for now. And like before, we'll just have one train starting in either city for a total of 2 running down this line here. Right, now let's see how we can get into Corpus Christi. So we want a small station here, because that's all we can afford. Well, we can't, but oh, they've built that in the worst possible place. Ah, it looks like Corpus Christi is a no-go, because I can't see a way of getting a station in here at all. That's a real bugger. Okay then, so we'll abandon that and instead we'll look to head to the north. So what we'll do is we'll put a second station in Salina. We'll then come over to Denver and we'll get ourselves a station in Denver. Like that. We'll get these connected in. The train should be pretty decent up here, so costs shouldn't be too high. Although it is wanting to go through that little hillside there and do a tunnel, which we don't want, and a bridge there, which we do not want. Anything else we don't want. That's not too bad. It's expensive, but it is going a fair distance. But look at that, we've got the money already. Let's double track. In fact, do we want to? Yeah, we may as well. Let's, in fact, do we want to have stuff running down here? How are we doing on our task? We need 50,000 more, so maybe we won't double track. Maybe we'll focus on branching outwards down to Raton, Santa Fe, and especially Albuquerque. Because if we get into Albuquerque, we're pretty much done as far as that task goes. Raton is 17. Santa Fe, well, we may as well hop down to all the cities on the way down rather than just beelining straight for Albuquerque. So let's go ahead and get ourselves a small station in Raton. Like that. Again, I'm going to go around the houses here just to avoid having to put a bridge over the top of what's her name? I forgot the trickster's actual name. But yes, rather than going over the top of her network, we shall just go around the houses to save money on the bridges there, because we'd have to bridge over the river anyway. So yeah, we'll do it this way. 170. Okay. Oh, a connection bonus into Austin. Okay, well that throws a bit of a spanner in the works, but it doesn't. It does a... Ah, damn it. So we're going to have to connect Raton first because we built that station. And we could demolish it, I suppose. But what the heck, we've almost reached the required amount we need to put the line to Raton, so we'll just go ahead and do it now. And then after Raton, we'll get that cheeky connection bonus in Austin by just putting a station and linking it in here. And that should give us the money then to come from Raton to Santa Fe, and then Santa Fe, and hopefully then into Albuquerque. Oh, you little bugger. Okay, so we're going to have to go to Austin first for the boost in income that this connection bonus will give us. There. How much do you provide in terms of population? 13. So we need another 30,000 pretty much exactly. So with that 373, can we then just go from Raton? So since going all the way down here is just ridiculous, we may as well just go straight over her network like that. Trisha Jones, that's her name. I just remembered. And then come in like that. That leaves us with just about 10,000 to go, which hopefully we can now afford. If we can get a station in Santa Fe, we can. This should be an easy, cheap connection. It is. And then that is now taken care of. So now we have a good bit of time before we have to worry about our next deadline, which is 1898. And that is building a rail network of 4,156 miles. So we're not going to make a conscious effort to do that, We're just going to now start focused on getting some oil shipped around the map. And I may even go ahead and purchase, once we get the money, this drill hole here. Although I think the first thing we'll do is actually start chucking down some of these maintenance buildings in our stations, just to keep the traffic flowing as freely as possible. Just auto hire those. Who do we have here? A reporter, no interest. So let's get a maintenance shed in Kansas City. We'll get one over here. We shall put one in both of our stations in Wichita. At least at this point now, as well, we don't really need to worry about city growth directly. We might want to grow a few cities in order to get some petroleum industries put down, so we can hit that objective of producing 50 loads of petroleum, I believe it was. Let's get that to increase local power just a bit. So yes, as I was just saying now, or alluding to, our primary focus now is going to be the transportation, production of oil and petroleum. So as I said, our first oil well is here, Chaplin drill hole. I don't think there's any others on the map. What's this bonus? New industry. I'm not fussed about that. Instead, I just want to keep on upgrading these stations, just to keep, as I said, our traffic flowing as quickly as possible without all these breakdowns due to poor condition. Of course, we're going to get the ones due to random breakdowns, but there's nothing we can do about that apart from increase loco reliability. Okay, we're getting acts of sabotage now, which is frustrating, but unfortunately there's not much we can do about that at this point, because we certainly don't have the money in hand to go ahead and take on our competitors in the stock market. In fact, let's just have a look. How much would it cost, out of curiosity, to outright buy them? 6 mil for Trisha Jones, and around about the same for Beatrix von Pomp. So not too expensive, and as we start to increase our income, that's something we're definitely going to want to do, just to get them off of the map, and that way we're not having to worry about them sabotaging our stations, industries and trains, which is the bane of our existence, but not much we can do about it, unfortunately. There's no counter to it, which is, you know, just silly in my view, but there you go. So how much would it cost us to purchase this oil well? 250. Will this start a bidding war, do we think? Well, I'll just let the money build up a little bit more, just so we have more than enough to compete in any potential bidding war that this may trigger, because we can get this oil brought into Kansas City. Chemical, we don't need to worry about that, because if we look at Kansas City, they have a demand of 7 per week thanks to that Standard Oil building there. So we can make money off this in terms of the transportation of the oil. So shall we go ahead and pull the trigger on this and see what happens? I'll continue to let the game run in the background. That way we can build up more and more funds if we need to, but it doesn't look like it's going to be needed at all. Who do we have here? Let's just auto hire those. 2 promoters. We don't need to worry about them really. We've done what we need to do in terms of city growth, and the benefits, while there are some, I don't think it's a direct benefit that we're going to really benefit from, so we'll just not bother. Anyway, now we want to think about getting this oil brought in. So what we're going to do is, because we don't need all of this, we don't have anything running down here, we may as well delete it all, and that's going to give us some nice money back. And using that free space and the money that this is freeing up, we're looking to building a line from our oil well over the top and into Kansas City. 1 million. Do we want to? Would it be a waste? It probably would be a waste to go ahead and dump load into their companies at this point. So yeah, we'll not bother with that. What we will do is we shall get ourselves a small train station over here. We'll put in a maintenance shed. We shall then give ourselves a large station with signalling control here in Kansas City. And again, we'll go for the maintenance shed. And we'll start running lines down to that oil well, or a line. We don't need multiple lines running down there. So let's skirt around the top of all of this. We're not going to expand out from Selena any further at this point, so we don't have to worry about blocking that line in there. And let's skirt along the edge of this river, then we'll come over and we'll connect in here. And as I said, because of this gradient drop off here, we can either have a really high gradient change or pay for a bridge. Given that we've got the funds at this point, I think we'll take the bridge, so we're not taking the hit on our train speeds. The other gradients are absolutely fine, nice and flat. The question is, do we want it to come... let's put it in, let's plug this into that one there, I think. In fact, no, we may as well go into the bottom, because we can't get a line between here and here, so any other lines coming in will come in above this one. So let's do that. 341,000. We of course want to double track this, because we're going to have a fair few trains running down here. Can we? Yep, we can squeeze in a double track there. 244, shouldn't take long to get to that. So there's the double track down to our oil rig down here, now sorted out. Let's short stop our signals here on approach to the industry. Supply tower will probably need 2. So we'll put one there and then we'll put one up here, and that should do. There's the money for that. So second supply tower. And now we can think about getting a freight only line from Chaplin Drill Hole. That runs with a full load into Kansas City 2. Freight only, yep, that's good. Save and exit, add loco, and for the power we will probably go for the PWRD12, even though we are losing some speed, although it's only 5 miles per hour. Logistics 2, transport from profits from mail, no interest in that, so I won't bother. Instead we'll use the money to clone our train from Chaplin Drill Hole. Further reducing maintenance requirements, that's nice, we'll take that. And we'll just get a good handful of trains running out of Chaplin Drill Hole up into Kansas City. We're not bothered about putting an express line down, even for a cash boost, so we'll ignore that connection bonus. The other thing we want to start doing is looking at upgrading this industry, which is quite expensive as we can see, but it's something we need to do so we can start working towards producing the oil ourselves and hitting this target. As you see, 0.8 at the moment, so it's going to take several oil rigs all upgraded in order to get 5 loads per week. And then when you want to get 20 loads per week, you need pretty much every drill hole on the map when they unlock, and you need them all upgraded as well. So rather than getting new trains at this point on this line, I am just going to wait and pay for the upgrade on this. What's this connection bonus here? Amarillo. Well, 236 is a nice amount, so we may as well do it, because we can then immediately delete it and get the money back. We have the money. I know that's exorbitant, that bridge, but we are going to delete it, so it doesn't matter. Like that, and that takes us to 692, which we can use to expand our drill hole. So that's now doubled to 1.6 per week. The next upgrade is 1 million. That will see us jump to 3.2 carloads per week. But that's all good, because it's going to help us achieve our goals, and we do have that infinite supply, or that near enough infinite demand in Kansas City. 7 per week at the minute, which I don't think we're anywhere close to meeting. And again, there's no point at this point upgrading or increasing the amount of trains here, because the current hold up is the amount we're able to produce. So we're going to really have to just upgrade it once again, and that's going to cost us 1 million. We might be able to cover that if we play with the bonds, which we will be able to. There we go, that's going to leave us 200,000 after the upgrade. So that's now 3.2 per week, and I now will upgrade to an extra train down here. And I think, ladies and gentlemen, this is a good place to end it for today's episode. So what we'll do is I shall save it at this point, and then we can have a cab ride on a train, and I think let's go from the drill hole over into Kansas City. I think we have a train that's almost ready to leave the drill hole, so we shouldn't be waiting around too long. So I'll just save it, and we'll get on the train and enjoy a cab ride. Okay, so that's it saved. So now let's hop on board, ride along. Let's hop on this side on the left. We'll restart the game, and it doesn't matter about the date ticking away in the background because I've saved it prior to this, so I'll just pick it up before we hopped on board and we won't have lost any time. What we will do though is not that. We'll just increase the speed. Oh, it's leaving now. Let's decrease the speed, get back on board. There we go. That side, please, and ride along. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode and the start to this scenario. We're going well so far. We've got golden ticks on all of our completed objectives thus far. And as we just saw about 10 minutes ago, we do have plenty of time remaining on our other task list. The other tasks on our task list, I should say. So we should be okay to get gold from here on out. As always, comments, feedback and suggestions are more than welcome down below. I do read them and I reply where appropriate. But for now, all that remains for me to say is, as always, ladies and gentlemen, take very good care of yourselves. It's ta-ta for now.